Hey, and welcome to today's Excel micro tip. So one of the things that you often need to do is create a sequence of numbers or a series of numbers quickly. So the old or the traditional option is using your autofill. So we'll have a look at that one. But you might also, if you need to fill up, for example, 100 cells, you may find that the sequence command is a lot easier to use. Then I'm going to show you how to use a mod, if you like. This will repeat a series of numbers, and then we'll have a look at a couple of extras. So let's jump into it. So the finished look, usually with your autofill, and I will do that one in a few moments for you, but here you can see the sequence command. So up in my formula line, you can see that I've got a 10 comma. So in other words, I am filling 10 cells down a row. I'm not putting anything into the column. I'm starting it with a value of 5 and I'm increasing the increment by 2. And as you start to click down, notice that it becomes ghosted in the formula bar. Alternatively, this mod command, what it allows me to do is to pick up the value up here. And what I'm doing is saying I want to repeat that number for 5. So it comes down to here. But because I added 1, I'm increasing that increment. So I've got a series of 5 here, another series of 5 here, and again sitting here. So a couple of different ways to use these commands. Let's have a look at them. So the quick old or favorite is the autofill. So remembering if you put your mouse in that bottom right and drag it down, it will autofill that detail or the value that you've got. If you go into the autofill options and fill the series, it will increase the increment by 1. Now, if you didn't want it to increase by 1, but let's say that we wanted to increase it by, let's make it similar to the one we're going to do over there. We want to increase it by 2 each time, starting at 5. Again, what I'm doing is selecting those 2 cells, using my autofill to come down, and it will automatically fill those series of cells with that differentiation we've got. So nice, easy way to do that. But let's say that we wanted to fill 100 cells. So if I use the command of sequence, and let's say it's 100 cells going down the column, down the row, there's nothing in my column that I want to do, but I want to start it with 5. And again, I'm going to use that step of 2. When I close my bracket and press enter, notice that it automatically, quickly and easily fills that 100 cells with that sequence of numbers, or the series of numbers. So nice, simple little tool that you can use. Another one that I think is really handy is this mod. So let's have a look at this. If I put in here the value of, say again, 1, and I use this command, mod, it says, if you like, what's the number that you want to use as your starting number? I'm going to use this cell here. Then it asks for the divisor. So what that to me is saying is how many cells do you want to actually fill up? And so if I say 5 cells here, so if I actually close my bracket and do a control enter, as I start to drag this down, sorry about that, wrong value. If I start to drag this down, you'll notice it keeps putting 1 in. So if I change this to be a +1 and make that a +1, then it's put that in there. So again, I'm going to grab this and then drag it down. And now you can see that it's filled 5 cells with this value, and then it's flipping it over back to 1 again. So again, if I drag this down a little bit further, as you can see, every 5 cells, I've got 1 to 5, and then it starts to repeat that over and over again. So again, another little tool, another function that you can use to start using this functionality. All right, let's have a look at a couple of others as I promised. If I use sequence again, but this time I go 2, 2, so I want to fill up 2 rows and two columns. I'm going to start it with the number of 1, and I'm going to change the step to be 5. what it will do is automatically fill both the columns and the rows by using that functionality that I've showed. So that is also really handy, because if you're trying to create a little spreadsheet and you want to put some numbers in straight away, the sequence can do that for you. Alternatively, another one that I thought was really handy for using that sequence is if, for example, that instead of going in and using my columns and rows, I'm going to use a formula in here called count A. And by putting that in here, instead of me looking at how many or the value that I want of the cells, I'm going to use the columns. So by typing in D close D, it's now checking how many that I've got in all of this. So I'm just literally going to close my extra bracket and do my Control Enter. And now what you can see it does is it's gone through, and if I go to the very end here, you can see 101 cells have been actually completed. So again, a nice easy formula, and if I do that Control tilde for you, you will notice each of those formulas, and probably the couple that I think are really snazzy, and I'll just adjust these columns so it makes it a little bit easier for you to see those formulas. Looking at that sequence where I filled a series of cells going down the rows here, this one is using that mod. This one is creating a matrix, if you like, by using columns and rows. And this one here has gone in and said, you know, let's look at column D and see how many cells have been completed here. So all really interesting formulas for you to go back and have a play with. I hope you've enjoyed this session.